Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum audience. Today I welcome you in another video which is based on reading for meaning. But before I proceed to this video, I request you to please subscribe my channel and please watch this video till the end because I'm going to discuss in detail all the tips for attempting reading for meanings questions. Not only this, I'll be discussing a very recent paper which appeared in KMET's exam, and I'll be discussing all types of question and tips to do this type of paper. As we all know that reading for meaning is actually a part of English language paper for O level, and it is actually paper 2. And in paper 2, we know that we have been given two comprehensions. This paper is called reading paper because there are two comprehensions and we have to attempt both the comprehensions, and each comprehension carries 25 marks. So let's discuss this type of comprehension. When we talk about reading for meaning comprehension, so we are always given a passage, which is a narrative passage. Narrative passage is actually a passage which contains an extract from some story. This you can see, this is the passage which we will be discussing today. And you will see that how to answer questions based on this passage. Here you can see that this passage is divided into 7 small paragraphs. So based on almost every paragraph, there are questions. So one thing is that you have to plan how you are going to do it. I'll discuss 2 techniques for doing it, and we'll see and we'll practice also that which one is the best one. But first thing is that there are some important things which you will need to keep in mind for doing this part of the paper. The one thing is that you will read the first paragraph carefully, the heading carefully, and if there is a line given to introduce the story carefully to see that what is the story about. So please read the first paragraph. Then decide that how are you going to do. There can be 2 things. One way can be that you read the question first and then do the passage. Read the passage with those questions in mind. This is one technique which is implemented by many students and recommended by many teachers as well. The other technique is where you read the passage, and after reading the passage you go to the question things. We'll practice both things side by side and we'll see that which one is more adapted to us and where we feel more comfortable. So another thing for reading for meaning attempting is that you have to understand the question word. This is the area where most of the students they lag behind. They don't read the question statement properly. I recommend always that please read the question statement and underline the words which are actually asking a question like what, why, who. There are actually a variety of questions in reading for meaning part, and most of the time the examiner gives us a statement or a line from the passage, and based on that line the question is asked. So please read the question statement carefully, revise it in your mind, underline that question word, and then please come up with a to the point answer. But this means that you have to reframe your answer. You have to make it grammatically correct and complete and put it in a very good form in the given space. There is another type of question where examiner asks to tell us a word or tell us a phrase from the question statement. This has to be very carefully done. Sometimes the examiner asks that give a word which is opposite to the word, or give a word which is same to the word, or give a word which is actually telling the same meaning or reinforcing the idea. So please read carefully that what is that word which is asked. Or sometimes the examiner asks a question that give a phrase which has the same meaning, or give a phrase in the later part of the passage where the same idea is reinforced or an opposite idea is discussed. So unless you read that question carefully, you cannot attempt it. And I suggest you that please write one word if it is a one word question, and write only that particular phrase. Don't copy down the things. Otherwise, that answer will not be taken. Be very careful where your own word answers are required. Okay, because those onward answers are having some keywords. I'll show you that what are those keywords. Looking at those keywords, you have to form your answer very carefully. And whatever line is given, please read that line and focus on what is the main idea of that particular line and what is the question statement based on that line. Only that you can answer it. So please don't hurry in answering the question. Read your questions carefully, revise them in your mind that what is actually the question about, and then answer it. So let's begin our practice. This is the first passage of this comprehension which I have just shown you. Now this is how the questions are based on the paragraph from paragraph 1. You can see question 3A and B part, the marks are also allotted and required length is also given, even lines are also mentioned. So let's read this paragraph. From the age of 2, the only thing I ever wanted to do was to study animals and become a zoologist. I am an exceptionally lucky person. People say that a child whose ambition is to have a particular job rarely grows up to fulfill that role. But my dream came true when I got the job I'd always wanted. So we can find out that this is actually a story from the writer's past. So let's look at the questions based on it. Question number 3, part A. As a child, what did the writer want to do when he became an adult? So what did he want to do? A very straightforward answer is given that he wanted to be a zoologist, or he wanted to be a naturalist, he wanted to be a wildlife expert. Straightforward, the answer is given in this line. You can see it. So as it is one line answer, provide the answer simply in one sentence. Why did the writer thinks he was an exceptionally lucky person? You can see that a line is given. This is a routine question set in the Cambridge where a line is given, and then based on it, question is asked why he thinks that he is lucky person. So we have just seen that he is lucky because he could pursue his childhood dream. He could find the job he always wanted. So in this case, he is a lucky person. As this is not an onward answer, so you can copy down the line number 2 and 4. So let's move on to the next paragraph. Throughout my formative years, I drove my family mad by catching or buying any or bringing into the house every conceivable type of creature, ranging from monkeys to the common garden snail. Formative year means throughout his past life, his growing time, he has been bringing the different types of animal and keeping them in his home. My family member comforted each other. They tolerated it, that it is going to be my hobby, just a phase I was passing through. That one particular phase in the time, and it is going to be over when he grows out of it. Although they were harassed by my vast assortment of wildlife means that he had a variety of different types of animals, and they most of the time they didn't like it. But with each fresh acquisition, my interest in animal deepened until teens by my late teens, I knew without a shadow of doubt that I wanted to be a collector of animal for zoo. So with the passage of time, his interest was not lessening, rather it was increasing. So let's see what question is made on this paragraph. This is question number 4A part. The writer brought into the house every conceivable type of creature. Give the phrase used later in the paragraph which conveys the same meaning. Every conceivable type of creature. I'm sure that you have found it. It is this, the vast assortment. So this is a phrase finding question, and I'm sure that you can easily do it. Look at the B part. The family comforted each other with the thought that the writer's hobby was just a phase I was passing through, and I would soon grow out of it. Explain in your own words what the family felt about it. So you actually have to tell that what is family's idea. So we have just discussed That family thought that it is only a phase that the writer was going through, that it was a temporary time, it was momentarily a stage, and it was not going to be permanent. So one reason can be this, as it is a question of 2 marks, so we have to provide two reasons. The other reason can be that when he grows out, he'll be out of this. So I'm sure that you can easily find the question here. You can see that a very careful reading can help you to find the answer. Look at this. This is the mark scheme capture of the previous question. This phrase is only given. And here the examiner has very clearly told that if somebody is writing it in this form, then it is not acceptable. Okay. So look at the B part. It was temporary, momentarily. Writer examiner has given a lot of space in the mark scheme, looking at the keywords which I have just underlined: phase and grow, that you are providing an answer which is actually discussing these two things. So remember that the marking scheme provides you ample space to write your answer, but at the same time, there are some parameters which are needed to write the answer. So be very careful when you are forming the answer. One day I received a phone call from a school friend who lived in a countryside, and he possessed a deer called Hortense, which he had looked after since its birth and which he described wrongly. This is important, that he lied about this deer as he discovered later as young. So, what did he lie? That it is a small young deer, but actually it was not. He explained that as he was moving to a town apartment, he was unable to keep his pet, even though it was tame and house trained. He told that he is going to an apartment, so taking a deer to that apartment was not possible. So he's requested the writer to take that pet. He said, and his father could deliver it to me within 24 hours or as soon as possible. I should have picked up I should have picked up on his desperation to be rid of it. Look at this word, rid of it, that he wants to get rid of it. He just want to leave that pet for any reason. Desperation word is very important here. It is showing desperation, that he is actually helpless. He is in distress. He wants to get rid of this animal. So look at the question. Question number 5A, why could the writer's school friend no longer look after Hortense, that deer? This is very clear that as he is moving to a city apartment. So you can write this answer, even you can left a line, and that can be taken for your answer. Left line number 14 to 15, that can be taken. Okay. Now, what two signs were there of the school friends desperation to be rid of the Hortense? What two things show that he wants to get rid of that deer? Immediately he want to leave that deer. So two things we have discussed. One thing is that he has wrongly lied about the age of the deer. One thing is there that he described the deer as young, but actually it was not deer, not young. Other thing is that his father could deliver it within a day or as soon as possible. So these two things are showing that he is really quite eager to get rid of this deer. So look at this, that reading carefully is really very important for answering such questions. Look at the next paragraph, paragraph number 4. I was in a quandary. Quandary means that he was perplexed. Now, I should have asked my mother how she felt about the addition of a deer to my already extensive animal collection. But he thought that he should have asked his mother, but he couldn't, but because mother was out, that unless I took it, it would have been humanely destroyed. That if writer doesn't take care of this deer, then it is going to be killed. That clinched it. Clinched is mean that he settled it quickly without asking his mother. It was not a wise decision, but I agree. Why it is not a wise decision? Because he hasn't asked his mother about taking this. So the following day, without even having seen him, By the time my mother returned, I had rehearsed my story over and over again, as he has already decided to take it, as he has already like settled this pet's arrangement with his friend. So now he has made up a story to tell his mother that the deer is going to be killed if it is not taken up by them. So he has made up a story. He had been rehearsing the story when his mother comes. So he tells that story to soften mother's heart of stone, much less such a susceptible one as she had. She said that to allow it to be killed was unthinkable when we could keep it in a tiny corner of the garage. So mother agreed to take that pet with the idea that otherwise the deer might be killed. So let's look at the question: in what two ways the writer's decision to take Hortense not wise? What are those two ways? So I'm sure that you have the idea of the question in your mind, that those two ways are that first thing is that he did not ask his mother. Okay, he did not tell his mother. And the other thing is that he hadn't seen that animal. He does not know about this animal. So these were the two things that his idea was unwise. In what way can we tell that the writer wasn't sure his mother would allow him to take Hortense? So it is little in what way we can say that his mother would allow him to take. So for this, what he did that he rehearsed the story, he made up a story that otherwise the animal is going to be killed if it is not taken up. So let's move on to the next paragraph, paragraph number 5. Hortense arrived the next day. Stepping from his truck, he delicately plucked my mother's prized rose, which he proceeded to chew slowly. He had a pair of horns, okay, with a forest of lethal looking spikes. So he had big horns with dangerous spikes in it, and he was about 4 feet high, big animal. Hurriedly before my mother could recover from the shock of Hortense's appearance. So writer fears that his mother might decline keeping it. So he hurriedly thanked the boy and the father. I thanked the boy and his father profusely. Uh, Profusely attached a rope of Horton's collar and took him into the garage. Before I could tie him up, he spotted a wheelbarrow which he wanted to toss into the air. I do hope he isn't going to be fierce. This is mother's worry. You know how Larry is the elder brother who doesn't like animal, feels about fierce things. I knew you too well how my elder brother felt about my animals. So thanks God they were not at home. Okay, so Hortense had a pair of horns with a forest of lethal looking spikes, and it was about 4 feet high. So give one word from the paragraph which shows a surprising contrast between his appearance and his behavior. So we have just seen that the deer is big. We have seen that deer has big horns. We have seen that deer's horns have a lethal looking spike. So we have to give one word from the paragraph which shows a surprising contrast between his appearance and his behavior. So that word is delicately. Delicately. Why do you think the writer was in a hurry to thank the boy? So we have known that he thinks that his mother might refuse to take it. Why do you think the writer's brother feels about animal? He doesn't like, most of the time he hates. So this is a Hortense, a deer, which was taken up by him. This is the last straw, roared Larry. So get that animal out of here. He pointed a quivering finger at Hortense, who, astonished by the havoc he had created, was standing there demurely, shyly. It was standing. What he has done, created chaos there, hitched to his horn. So, in spite of my pleas, Hortense was banished. It was sent to a nearby farm, and this was the end of keeping his large animal. So, explain in your own words what the writer mean when he described Hortense as astonished by the havoc he had created. So look at the two words havoc and astonished. So you have to describe that what the writer mean. What does writer wants to say here? So he was surprised, taken aback, he was amazed, and havoc means the trouble created by this animal. So here actually the keywords are havoc and astonished, which should be kept in mind while forming the answer. So let's move on. This is a part which you are quite aware of. You have to tell them the suitable meaning. And let's come to the last part, which is telling the meaning and effect. Here, actually, two different phrases, two different lines are given from the passage, and you have to tell the meaning and effect. So let's discuss the first, where the first line is, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that I wanted to be a collector of animals. The first line, we have already discussed it. Here, the meaning is that writer is quite clear about his future plan. He knows what he is going to do. He is sure, he is definite. And the effect is that this shows that writer is determined. This shows that writer has a single mind. This shows that he is decisive. So let's look at the mark scheme, how mark scheme tells it. It's going to come little later. Let's discuss this phrase. This is the last royal leg. So get that animal out of here. You have to tell the meaning. In meaning, we can say that this shows that his elder brother is really upset, and he wants that this deer should be removed, it should be taken out. As for the part of effect, we can say that this shows that Laurie is having bad temper, is intolerant. So you have to tell the effect which you, as a reader, you take about that character. Okay, so let's look at the mark scheme. We have seen the mark scheme as well. So thank you very much for watching this video. Stay blessed, and thank you very much again.